Content warnings. Same as last time. If you're familiar with 13 Reasons Why, you'll already be aware of the sensitive topics covered. In this episode, we might mention or even discuss in depth suicide, self-harm, depression, bullying, sexual assault, and rape.
We are not going to cover all of them, but they might be mentioned, so please be aware of that.
Welcome to Tea and Toffees, a weekly VTuber podcast. Hello, I'm Neitshayd, your local undead demon.
And hi, I'm Cecilia. I was a witch in my previous life.
Last time, in episode 12, we discussed the original novel and what a failure this show was. Today, we're going to talk about some random thoughts, Anna Baker, depression, and surviving that one word that I do not like. So, let's get right into it. Random notes that got cut from part 1 of our discussion because we didn't actually run out of time, but whatever. Clay, you dumb idiot. You could have just asked Tony for the tape player. Honestly.
I have the exact same note, though not in those exact same words. Yeah. You know, I think the transitions between past and present, they had a good execution in the show, and that it sometimes seems to blend together also in a way. Like we remember it like the past. We remember it more colorful than it actually was, at least most of the time, and like warmer colors. It's very fitting, and because cutting out the unpleasant things helps us like pretend everything is just fine, and in this show nothing is fine.
I don't remember whether they did this in seasons 1 or 2, but in season 3, the past and present have different aspect ratios on top of the color filters.
Ah, I never noticed.
So, next random note, peeping Tom note. Like, that's what curtains are for. Hannah, blinds have to be shut. The correct curtains let light in and allow you to look outside while also preventing other people to be able to see inside. Curtains. And really, you shouldn't put your children's bedroom on the ground floor facing the street. Bella's bedroom is the same, like what the F?
Yeah, the ground floor is not for bedrooms. At my parents' house, all the bedrooms got built on the first floor when my parents renovated the place. Like, yeah, the second floor for the Americans, just to clarify. And wait, wasn't your room technically on the ground floor facing the street when you lived with that human family?
Well, yes, but for one, that house is at the end of the street on the outskirts of town and no random people ever pass by. Second, there's a courtyard, cars, trees, and a high fence between the window and the street, and the angle of that window won't even let you see half of the room, even if you stand right in front of it. And third, curtains, nice white curtains that block sight, and thick curtains drawn at night to prevent sunlight from streaming in the morning. As a bonus, they have a dog. A big dog that loves to bark. He really loves barking. Yeah. And no one would be able to just walk up to that window and see what's going on inside. Both the walking up to part and the seeing what's inside part are just impossible, so it's not an issue.
Yeah.
Not like it is with Tyler and Hannah's rooms.
Yeah. My parents have white curtains in every room that is facing the street and in every bedroom, and it looks nice and it has a function. Plus, we also live in the middle of nowhere. People only ever end up there if they know it exists in the first place and want to go there, though they sometimes don't manage to find it. And yeah, and others end up there because they got lost. And you will immediately notice if someone is there that doesn't belong there. And bottom line is, curtains are important, especially on the ground floor.
Yes. Also, something I noticed that a few times in other shows. Outdoor shoes do not belong inside the house. That's what you have house slippers for. Also, Valentine's Day is way too overrated in the US. Like, what the F? Formal school dances are weird. Also, all high school kids in the show can drive, even though it's really unrealistic that they're all 18 years old already, considering that they're like not in their last year of school at the beginning. And bloody job culture and you know, the US is really, really weird.
It really is, and I'm very glad we don't live there. Like, house parties is a concept I don't fully understand. Who would want to clean that up? And alcohol and teenagers combined has a high chance of breaking stuff in the house. There is a high chance you will see people making out, and I would just be plain and uncomfortable. No.
Also, what kind of parent would even allow that? Poor house. Do you know how much shit gets destroyed during those parties?
Well, I don't, because I've never been to a house party and I've only seen it in TV shows. And isn't it like most of the times that the parents don't allow it? And it's like the house parties take place when the parents are not home and don't notice. Well, I assume they notice afterwards, but then it's too late already.
Which means that they did not raise their children correctly.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. Next random note. Did the basketball team become a baseball team for some unknown reason, and then it became an American football team? And oh wait, Bryce doesn't actually play in the basketball team. He just sat on the bench with his friends, and he's captain of the American football team. And in season 1, we just see the basketball team because Justin and Zach are a part of it, and we have had their tapes rather early on, and Bryce at the beginning is just a background character. And then, then next season it's like they all play baseball. Why would the captain of the American football team switch to baseball?
I completely disregarded everything that had to do with sports, so I didn't even notice. But now that you say that, yeah.
And they played basketball in the beginning, and then they all played baseball, and then they all played American football.
Whatever.
Sports. They played sports. Also, the USA, land of freedom. But you are very limited in your choices. Like, you need money for higher education. There are scholarships, but those are only for like the top 5% or so. And the rich ones are paying for tutors to make sure their kid can get the scholarship to brag to other people about how intelligent and amazing their child is. So really, if you are not a genius and in the top 0.1% and get lucky, you don't have a chance. Like, Ani also doesn't accept partial scholarships because she needs a full one to finance it. And we know that she is intelligent. She is a self-insert OC, as we have established in the first episode. So, of course she is intelligent.
What an odd place. Very odd.
Yeah.
So, who committed a crime on the tape list? Well, Bryce, definitely, obviously, unarguably.
Yes.
TV show Tyler also yes. Book Tyler maybe, probably, but we have no evidence for that, and there's a chance it was someone else, so whoever stalked Hannah in the book. Marcus sexually assaulted Hannah. And Sherry, or Jenny in the book, technically also committed a crime and she didn't contact anyone about the stop sign.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think the rest was just... Okay, no, wait. Justin, when he didn't stop Bryce, it's also a crime.
Yeah.
But the rest was just teenagers being teenagers. On the matter of the stop sign, since the TV show made the nameless student who died in the car crash into Jeff, and had Clay, who knew Jeff, find him dead, shouldn't Clay be in therapy?
Oh, yes.
I know there were allusions to Clay being in therapy before and taking medication, but we don't know whether that's related to the car crash. I think in the books we only know that Clay was there for the old man and then ran off to tell his wife when the medics arrived.
Yeah, we don't get to know why and when Clay went to therapy other than the time we see it in the show. And we get told that, like, this is not the first time he goes to therapy. He went to therapy in the past. Yeah, now his parents want him to go to therapy again, but we never learn when the first time was and what the reason, what the trigger was for that.
Yes, we will get into how responsible the show is in regards to handling mental health depictions later.
Mm-hmm.
Something other random. The Bakers have financial problems, but buying Hannah a shiny brand new SUV is fine?
Technically, it is a family car, and what they have to pay more each month compared to the previous car is supposedly not that much. But Hannah's father might just have said that to appease his wife, and US and their car obsessions. Like, why are they so obsessed with cars?
So weird. Cars are overrated.
Yes, I agree with you.
Next random note. Clay's tape. You said no, Hannah. You said no and he stopped. And that was the right decision on his part.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the book doesn't really frame it as something he should have done differently, but the TV show kind of did. And
yeah, I'm not happy with the TV show about that. It's like, if the girl says no, you stop. If the girl asks you to leave, you leave. And that's exactly what he did. And that is, in my opinion, the right thing to do. So,
yes,
you did good. You did good, Clay. You did good.
What he could have done better in the TV show, since they actually were friends in the TV show, is like next day go to her and ask whether she's all right.
Yeah.
I mean, she comes to him for help next day, but he's too caught up in his trauma from seeing Jeff die and the old man stuff. And but still, Clay, that was an awful move on you. It's like listening to her saying no and then leaving was a good decision, but then the next day he was just an awful. But
yeah,
that did not happen in the book, so.
But at the same time, I can also see, like, yes, he witnessed the car crash, and in the show it was also like Jeff, and he knew Jeff and was friends with him, so it's also kind of understandable for me. It's just complicated.
But he was close to Hannah in the show, so he knew her. He should have known better than accusing her of something he should have known she wouldn't do.
Yeah.
It's just the reaction was.
He could have done better, but he could also have done worse.
TV show Clay is an obnoxious.
He's a lump of clay.
Yeah. All because they gave him a personality he didn't originally have.
Mm-hmm.
Because he had no personality to speak of. Anyway, something that happened with Hannah and Clay, but also like literally every other character. Why does it always end up in making out? Like, can't a girl and a boy just be friends for once? We get this emotional moment, and it would be so nice to just keep it at that, but no. They have to get closer, and then closer, and then their mouths meet.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm also not a fan of that, and I love the fact that we got a friendship between two girls and a boy, like Hannah, Jessica, and Alex. Not every relationship between boys and girls needs to be of the romantic nature, and getting something without romantic undertones in media is rare. And then two of them got together, and my illusion was ruined.
Why? Why did I propose this show again?
I don't know. Why did you?
No clue.
So, next random note. Do we want to get into the US American court system?
No.
No? Okay, I will do it anyways. But I will keep it short for you. Okay? Well, we did kind of get also already into that in the last episode. that like Bryce gets the light sentence because he is a rich white boy. And sadly, that is the reality the show writers saw during their research for the show. And then the judge like saying to both Bryce and Jessica to think about their decisions in life. Like, what did Jessica even do? I mean, maybe she could drink less alcohol, but someone like Bryce would still be able to overpower her.
Case in point, Hannah, who was not intoxicated at the time.
Yeah.
Oh, like literally the worst thing to say to a victim.
Yes.
Just this judge. Oh.
Yeah. And Clay's mom even admits that the court system isn't perfect and that innocent isn't a perfect defense, which it really should be, but sadly it isn't.
Innocent until proven guilty.
Yes, exactly. Okay, let's not talk more about this and move on to the next random thought. Zach refuses to let Alex succumb to self-pity, and I love that. Like, he learned from Hannah that maybe he needs to do more and be more supportive when he knows that someone is struggling. A friend who is struggling, at least, because strangers or people he doesn't care about, he doesn't give a shit, which understandable, but he is helping a friend who is struggling, and that like the friendship that slowly develops between Clay and Justin, that's also just really sweet. They learn from each other, and Clay gains respect for Justin and manages to overcome his hatred, and it brings light moments into the dark world that is 13 Reasons Why, and it is needed. It's like, not everything in this world is bad, and it is important to show that some things can also turn to the better.
And then they killed Justin just because. In a rather unrealistic portrayal of HIV, from what I've gathered.
Yeah. Yeah.
Last random note. I admire Bryce's mom in season 3. She's brutally honest about her father, ex-husband, and son.
Oh, yes.
I love that.
Yes. Strong woman character. Yes, yes.
Okay. Tape 3, Side B. Did I totally not mention any of the tape names so far? Whatever.
You mentioned
discussing
one, I think, in the
yes, one
in the first episode.
In the other episode.
Yeah.
I think I purposefully left the others out. Anyway.
Maybe.
Discussing LGBT plus representation. And a very small side dish of diversity. Which, there is some LGBT plus representation, like Courtney, Ryan, Tony, Montgomery, and so on, but I'd actually rather not talk about it. Ugh. This show is filled to the brim with stereotypes of all kinds, not only LGBT plus. It's actually horrible. It's horrible.
Well, they do have a diverse cast. Like, we get people of color, we get Mexican, we get Asian, and not only one, but multiple per ethnicity. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And
yes, you did.
Oh, yay! And we have more than just the token dark-skinned character. We have 2. And then
which arguably is not that.
Yeah.
You could argue that is not exactly better.
Yeah. But then we've got the non-existent season 3 and 4, and Arnie and Mom are also of a darker skin tone. So,
which is also not, well, her mom is cool, but Arnie is just
self-insert OC that is annoying. But
yes, Arnie is annoying, but her mom is cool.
But with a British accent that I appreciate. Okay.
Well,
yeah. And in general, it's just a mix of everything, like in this show. And the US is exactly that, isn't it? A mix of everything, at least at a public high school. And I kind of also forgot about Sherry and Courtney. And later I learned why, because they don't appear in the later seasons. So my brain just went, delete.
Well, Ryan as well. They were older than the others, so they graduated between seasons, and then they went on to live their own lives.
Yeah.
Only coming back at the very end of the last not existent season episode.
I hope they had a better life after they graduated from that school.
Well, there was no Clay in their lives, so
maybe. And it feels like they cut out ethnic diversity to make more characters guy or bi.
Gay, not guy.
Gay or bi.
Yes.
Apparently my brain tried to combine those words. Yeah, but we really didn't need that. We didn't.
Who actually is bisexual? Alex? Is that confirmed, or did he just suddenly discover he was gay all along? Because the latter would be a terrible representation. To be fair, though, I did initially think he was gay when I first saw him in the show. I saw him, my first thought was like, he's gay, and then turns out he was not, and then it turns out he was? Or is he bisexual?
They never tell us if he all of a sudden discovered that he is gay, or whether he discovered, oh, I'm actually bisexual. And they really didn't need to make Alex a bi or pan or whatever. And why did he have to kiss Zach? Why? I'm at least glad that Zach didn't freak out about it and was just chill.
Why, you ask? Because of the so-called chemistry? I don't know.
And also, Clay is just so unobservant. It's like you literally saw Tony interact with his boyfriend, and how can you not know that he is gay? It was so obvious. Which also stereotypes, I guess. And Tony and Caleb, they at least like broke the stereotype of a feminine gay man. So there's at least that. And the actor wanted to do his character justice, and the LGBT plus community welcomed him with open arms, even though the actor is not, in fact, gay. And I think that Tony and Caleb is like also the only relationship I actually like in that show. And there are a lot of relationships in that show.
There are indeed a lot of relationships. I don't want to talk about the representation, but I don't get why that leaked picture of Hannah and Courtney was such a big deal. Apart from there's a parrot taking pictures from outside the window aspect, because that shit is fucking creepy.
Oh yes, it is.
I also don't get why two girls kissing each other is such a big deal. Like, humans, have you looked at your history? Do you know how many cultures have a history full of gayness and bisexuality? Or pansexuality? I keep getting lost in the heated arguments about the difference. Why does it matter what gender someone is or is not attracted to? Like, humans are weird. I don't understand them.
Yeah, I don't understand them either most of the time. Like, why? Like, Courtney and Hannah are just making out. They're exploring their interests. And I don't think that Tyler is actually the one who sent the picture to half of the school, because why would he?
Someone leaked it. But was it confirmed who leaked it? I don't remember. It's not relevant anyway.
Yeah, I don't think they ever said who actually leaked it. They just assumed that it must have been Tyler, because Tyler was the one taking the pictures. It's like assumptions, Hannah. That's assumptions. And yeah, friendship, then it falls through because society judges you for exploring what you want. And it's like, society sucks. Human society, I should specify. And this is one of the few like episodes, or like multiple episodes, because this is the second episode about 13 Reasons Why, where I won't judge you, Neitshayd, for cursing humanity, because the series is about faults in society.
Nice.
Yes. And Courtney has two dads. She explored her own sexuality a bit with Hannah, her own interests. So why does she freak out when it is leaked? I didn't get that at first. And I guess privacy and stuff. But I hope it wasn't about the lesbian thing, and I would have expected her to be more open because she has 2 dads, you know?
She does explain her reasons to Hannah. How she had to grow up watching her dads be ostracized for being gay, and that was very traumatizing for her.
Yeah, it really must have been. It's like, that's why I also said that at first I didn't get it, because then she explained it and I was like, but...
Well, but she explains it exactly the same in the same scene where you learn that she has 2 dads, so...
Yeah. So...
When was there time for you to not understand it?
Well, before the scene where we know that she had 2 dads, but it's like, also, thoughts can be really fast, so it was like, okay, well, why... First was like, why are you freaking out about this? And then we learned 2 dads. That's even more of a reason not to freak out about it. And then, was that the same scene where we learned that?
I think so, yes.
Because, I mean...
It's not important.
It's not important anyways, but you being gay because you have 2 dads, and then Courtney freaking out about what society would say. To me, that sounds ridiculous, because why would you be being gay just because your parents are? It's like, society, what are you doing? But then I think of society and can see where she is coming from. Like, having grown up being bullied because your parents are gay and then being gay yourself, well, it's understandable why this emotional teenager reacted the way she did, even if it sucks for Hannah. But as I said, everything has multiple sides, and it's all about perspective, like Fire Emblem, Three Houses, and Fates.
Yep. You just had to mention that again, didn't you?
Yep. So, who is gay in this show and who is not? Did they overdo it? Let's have a look. Who is gay, or at least not straight? We have Tony, Caleb, Monty, Alex, the very obvious gay dude from the early seasons, from season 1, where I forgot the name.
Ryan. I like Ryan, despite it all.
Oh yeah, Ryan. That's his name. Then the guy who got by Monty and is now into Alex.
Winston.
Then the quarterback Alex starts dating.
Charlie. Charlie is a good boy.
Why do you know all these names?
Because I didn't hate those characters as much as the rest.
Huh. Well, yeah, I can see that. Yes. Who else do we have? We have Courtney, Annie, Jessica, and potentially Hannah.
Eh? Really? Annie and Jessica?
Yes, Annie and Jessica, because in season 4, I believe it's when they're like when Jessica's looking for a date for the prom, and she doesn't find a date at first, and then with her group that she started, it's like, yeah, why don't we all go as friends or something? And they are just all staying silent because they all already have a date. And then Annie asks her, like, yeah, why don't we go together? And at first Jessica is like, no, because she thinks of it as pity or something, if I remember correctly. And then Annie is like, yeah, but how about we don't go as friends, but as girlfriends? And then Jessica accepts, and the whole group is cheering for them.
Huh. But didn't we also get a scene where Jessica was then into the other sports Diego? Yeah. The one who also wanted to stir up shit about Monty being framed.
Yeah, that was also... I don't even remember if that was in season 3 or season 4.
That was 4. All of this happened in season 4.
Anyway, that...
Because, like, I think that the dance thingy you're talking about is, like, one of the last scene... well, in the last episode. Yeah. The one where Justin dies, and then also...
Yeah.
Oh, no, Justin was still alive. That's, like, right the scene where Justin collapses.
Yeah, because Justin... I think he wasn't feeling well, and then wasn't planning on going to the prom, but then he showed up and he danced with Jessica.
Yeah, I totally missed that scene. I totally missed the scene where Arnie and Jessica talked about that, but I do remember seeing, and I didn't realize it was Arnie because she suddenly had long hair, encouraging Jessica to dance with Justin. I remember that. And then later, when Justin died and Jessica talked to Diego, they had a moment, and we know that there's no friendship in this show. So
yeah, that too, and there are too many school dances anyway. Because I think there were 2 just in season 4, like the prom, and before that, the one where Jessica went with Diego. It's like too many.
Might have been Valentine's Day.
Might have been. I don't remember. The USA overdoes Valentine's Day, and there are too many school dances to keep track of. Okay, total gay count, or not straight count, 10. And if you include Hannah, because we don't know where she falls, 11. Who's not gay? Zach, Justin, Bryce, Clay, Sherry, or what was it? Jenny in the novel. Then Chloe. We don't know really Chloe, so 5 or maybe 7 with Hannah and Chloe. We don't know.
Technically, how are we to know they're straight? They all could be bisexual or pansexual. Or no, they could not be asexual. So sad. Why is there no one asexual?
Boo you.
Oh well.
Well, Tyler? We don't. Tyler is never in a relationship. Oh wait, he is. There's a girl, the little sister of the one. Oh yeah. Yeah, I forgot Tyler in this count. So, who knows? And
I wanted to ask you about Tyler later on.
I put Tyler in my notes.
Yeah, he is there. Look down. There's Tyler.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to ask you about him because you forgot him in your count.
Oh yeah, because I kind of forgot for a moment that he was in a brief relationship with the little sister of one of his friends. So
he also stalked Hannah.
Yeah, that too.
And then he has a thing with another girl who I don't even know who it is, but
yeah,
there might be something developing there.
But, yeah, Tyler. Just if you just really forget about this the brief relationship, then maybe he could have been Arrow or even Ace or both.
That would have been nice. And it would be totally valid for him to be on the spectrum because of his trauma, and just as valid for him to be on the spectrum regardless of his trauma. So
yeah. And also Zach straight out told us, or told Alex, that I'm not into guys. So we at least know with Zach that he is straight. That's one thing we know. And I think also like writing Alex and Jessica and Arnie as gay towards the end was really not necessary. And I wonder why they decided to do that. I guess technically like these 3 are like bi now. So maybe they wanted to go for some bi representation in addition to the gay?
Well, like I said, I don't remember the Arnie and Jessica thing, but it sounds cool. And also, labels are overrated.
Yeah.
Just be into who you want to be. There is no need for labels. And it's like, if they are into all genders, then good for them.
Yeah.
Cool. I don't think it's unnecessary. It just wasn't well written.
Well, and then I try to separate them into, okay, who's gay, who's bi, and who's straight. But now we already know that the count is off. But what I have in my notes is that there were 6 gay characters, 4 bisexuals, and 7 straight characters. But like I said, the count is off. But we've got a mix.
We just erase all labels, and everyone is just themselves.
Oh yeah. Yeah, let's do that.
Now, if all humans were aromantic and asexual, that would solve a lot of problems. Put a gender on top of that and you got the whole set, I think.
Yeah, humanity would kind of die out in that case. Unless it's recent enough the development that artificial equation of humans was already invented.
No, let's leave it at the first option. Let humanity go extinct. Like I said, it would solve a lot of problems.
Well, it would solve a lot of problems, but still, you're horrible. Did you know that?
Yes, thank you.
That was not a compliment.
Oh, I am aware of that. So, tape 4. Side A. Anna Baker.
Actually, who's your favorite character?
I hate all of them.
Least hated, then.
That's hard. Definitely not Clay. If I were a good person, maybe Zach or Sherry, but I'm not. Justin. I do like Justin's arc, but oh, the parents, the Jensen parents. I don't hate those two. What about you?
Zach. He's a good boy, from what I remember. And Hannah, you should have listened to your friend and gone for him and not Justin. And later we learned that she actually did. It was a summer romance.
Which doesn't make sense plot-wise and retcons a lot of stuff from season 1, but I already ranted about that in our last 13 Reasons Why episode.
Yeah, we are going to talk about Hannah in a bit, but before we do that, Hannah, seeing that Zach is lonely, that she recognizes the pain of feeling like no one truly understands you, I could see that. It's like he seemed more like someone who followed along. He likes some of the things his group of friends does, but not all of them. And his mom also seems like the stereotypical Asian mom, expecting her son to be extraordinary, to be good at school, to be good at sports, to be popular, to get a scholarship to the best university. So that would most likely put a lot of pressure on him to hang out with the popular kids in school.
So, Hannah, the girl who started this whole mess.
You know, Hannah could just be lying on the tapes. She tells her side of the story, but there are always more sides to everything. But listening to the story of a dead girl, it's like, how can you accuse her of lying? Because why would she be lying? It's like, if she killed herself because of her classmates, then I would want them to hurt as well. Like, hurt them with the truth.
Yeah, you see, that is not the message you're supposed to take away from all of this. And since you did, the show messed up. Royally. But sorry, continue.
Hannah can't know the whole truth because how could she? So how can it be the whole truth and nothing but the truth? It simply can't. So one should still question the words of the dead girl. Yeah, and I'm glad that Zach can prove that Hannah does lie sometimes on her tapes, because he never threw the note away, and even though Hannah said that he did, but she never saw it. She was desperate for someone to listen, and then her trust got betrayed. It's sad, honestly. It's just sad, and the only one she trusted was Tony. And I can't even blame Tony for not opening the door that day when he saw Hannah leaving the box and leaving. You can't always deal with the shit of others. Sometimes dealing with your own shit is taxing enough as it is. And I'm glad that she decided to give life another chance, that she came to realize after she recorded the cassettes that she could potentially get through this, but that she needs to get help to do so.
Which we will discuss in a few minutes under the Mr. Porter section. Hannah is a very flawed character and a teenager. She makes stupid decisions because everyone makes stupid decisions. Humans do. Teenage humans especially. There were opportunities for her to reach out to people, her parents especially. The TV show version of her suicide must have hurt her parents so much more than the book version. Either way, from what I understand, losing one's own child must be one of the worst pains imaginable for a human. And the tapes and how they impacted everyone on the list, like Alex trying to commit suicide, the whole issue with Jessica's Bryce situation, Tyler being put on the spot without evidence in the novel, and of course Hannah was intoxicated on that first party where she met Clay, and Bryce is a big, strong asshole, but there are many ways to interfere and help other than physically trying to stop him. Even if you freeze out of fear and can't react, at least do something about it afterwards. Reach out to a trusted adult or something. It's, generally speaking, Hannah displays a lot of lack of taking responsibility in a lot of different situations. But that's how humans are, isn't it? Flawed. And that's not even bad writing. Bad writing is making her, or Clay for that matter, out to be a good hero-type character when she clearly isn't and isn't meant to be either. Most of her reasons are petty and small things, but that stuff keeps piling up, and then the freaking horrible stuff happened, and, well, people have taken their own lives as less hormone-driven adults for less severe reasons. Less severe from an outsider's perspective, of course. It's a spiral, a downward spiral of her mental health. And one of the things I find arguably is one of the biggest flaws of her personality is like, why did she do that to her parents? And then didn't even tell them the truth. She included Clay on the tapes for the sole purpose of letting him know why she made that decision, but she wouldn't let her parents know.
She probably had a reason for that. We just don't know it. And I also loved that Hannah's parents both approach this thing differently. Like the mother desperately wants to understand why this happened. She hates not knowing. She currently hates the world for what it did to her daughter. And the father thinks there is no way they will ever truly understand, he is probably right about that. And he is mostly sad. And he has a quiet acceptance and grief, and the mother's grief is expressed in anger. She can't yet accept that she also didn't see how her daughter was struggling, and men often find it easier to move on than women, and that is apparently also truth.
But isn't it a fact that a wife can outlive her husband, but a husband won't live long after his wife is gone?
Yeah, that's also, yes, that is a thing. It's complicated. Again.
So, Hannah is a victim of bullying. But the bullying seems rather mild for the most part. Maybe it's the way the show portrayed it, but it doesn't look like constant daily harassment. More like spikes whenever the collective student body found something funny for a bit and, well, then lost interest again. It's different when people call you names on a daily basis, when they whisper behind your back constantly, when they steal and break your personal belongings, when they never let you have a moment of peace, and when their behavior has bystanders make assumptions about you and avoid you for all the wrong reasons. It's even worse when it turns from verbal assault to physical assault. Though I think most bullying remains verbal, or at least doesn't go further than destroying the victim's belongings, because that's easier to do, easier to hide, less risk of adults caring about it, just harmless teasing between teenagers. I think that both the original novel and the TV show failed to address important topics like bullying, like suicide, like mental health issues, especially mental health issues, in a truly meaningful way. The way the narrative is framed, the way the TV show ups the melodrama, it just doesn't quite work out. Mental health problems especially should have been addressed in a meaningful discussion in some form or another, but they were neglected most of all. Like, therapy. Why do none of these children get to go to therapy?
Clay does. Way too late, in my opinion, though.
And that's not even... You know what? There is no season 4. No one in the show ever goes to therapy.
If you say so.
Tape 4, Side B. Depression and mental health. Did they actually ever address Hannah as someone suffering from depression?
No.
And if Hannah was not, in fact, suffering from depression, then I don't actually see a reason for her decision to kill herself. Because you can suffer through all that she has gone through and make it out alive. You can... Okay, let's pretend for a moment Bryce didn't exist and didn't do anything. You can make it through the bullying and having no friends and all else that happened and come out the other side mostly intact. I've seen people go through that shit. I've seen people go through worse, except, again, Bryce. And they didn't suffer from depression and they never even contemplated ending their own life. But I've also seen a person go through that shit, except, once more, Bryce, and suffer from depression on top of that and then trying to take their own life. And they asked for help, and they managed to pull through. We're not in touch anymore, but I do hope they're doing well these days, wherever they are. So, depression. Well, content warnings for descriptions of what depression might be like that will follow. Skip to this timestamp on the screen if you do not wish to hear them. So, depression has many different phases, many different symptoms, is expressed in very different ways from individual to individual. Hannah's experience, if she did indeed suffer from depression, is only one of many and only representative for some aspects, some version, but not for depression as a whole, because, well, that's impossible. So, what depression could be like? I heard a description of someone saying it's a black hole of hopelessness, of bleakness and failing to find meaning of life. Some people think they are worthless, a failure. Some people think everyone hates them. Some think they do not deserve to be loved. Some think there is no point to it all. No one would notice if I just disappeared. Because the world is cruel and cold. Another angle to consider. Imagine yourself being free. Free of responsibilities, free of constraints. Free of the shackles of a body and the shackles of your own mind. Truly and absolutely free. And then you find yourself stuck in a body, a prison made of flesh and bones, limited to a human's mind and imagination. And you're feeling constricted, you're feeling constrained, you're uncomfortable in a body that is yours, and you know it's yours, and it's a fine body, eating disorders and chronic pain aside. Or perhaps it isn't, it could be the wrong gender, but there are options for that, aren't there? Problem is, at the end of the day, nothing will change the fact that this body is limiting your freedom. You have to feed this body, even when eating is hard and nauseating. You have to make sure it's hydrated, even when drinking more water makes eating even harder. It has to sleep, but you can't sleep and dream of freedom all the time. It has to be kept clean, it has to use the toilet. It needs physical contact, even when that physical contact makes you uncomfortable in your own skin. It has to be taken care of as much as your own mental well-being has to be taken care of. It's a suffocating feeling. It feels like drowning. You're trapped and there's no escape. You will never be free. And you know you will never learn the reason, and you know suicide won't free you and there's nothing you can do. Perhaps you can be content with your life, despite it all. But the yearning for freedom will never go away, no matter how little you try to think about it, and true happiness is impossible to achieve like this. That would count as depression too, wouldn't it?
I think so. Yes.
So, this show, 13 Reasons Why, is horrible at depicting mental illnesses and addressing the problem properly. Seasons 3 and 4 are horribly bad, even worse than the first two. I'm not even going to bother pointing out why. I'd argue that seasons 3 and 4 do more harm than good for any watchers, casual or not, though there are a few good points made. And because we do need to focus on positive stuff, I'll list them here. The support group Nina convinced Jessica to join. But that wasn't season 2. That was a good thing. Clay encouraging Tyler to speak with Dr. whatever their name was, someone apparently professional. Tyler's journey of finding the courage to speak about what happened to him and getting support from his friends. They're friends, right?
Yes, they are in fact friends.
Yeah. Tyler's journey in season 3 was something I think was actually done well. And Clay asks whether he can hug Tyler. Very important. Correct decision, Clay. You have to ask.
Yes, consent is always important.
Because Tyler, in that scene, looks like he desperately needs a hug, but Tyler also has a very understandable fear of being touched, and a hug might have had the opposite effect of helping. So, ask. And we do get to see Clay in therapy in season 4.
Yeah, I don't like the therapist. I don't know exactly what it is. I just don't like him.
For me, it's the way he sits. At least in the first session, I didn't really pay attention to the others. He has one foot resting on the knee of his other leg, and that is very bad body language for a therapist. I'm also skeptical about how accurate his diagnosis for Clay truly is, but I'm no expert, so what do I know? We get to see a character actually go to therapy, regardless of how good or bad the portrayal of that therapy is. That's got to count for something. It's a missed opportunity, I think, for an accurate portrayal of a character suffering from trauma on the way to healing with the help of therapy. But as many other themes have suffered for the sake of drama and attainment, so has this one.
Yeah. And one thing I would like to mention before we move on, Sky being bipolar.
Yes.
Yes. Because, hey, I actually heard about that before, but I think the old name was more self-explanatory, at least to me, as manic stress disorder. And from where do I know that? Fanfiction, of course. And I'm glad that with Sky we get an example that if you get help, you can get better. That there is a way to move forward, even if you have mental health problems. She looks so much happier than before. She is closing a chapter in her life by saying goodbye to Clay and saying goodbye to her old life, and she's getting closure and is happier because of it.
I find it interesting how certain disorders are renamed over time. For example, multiple identity disorder got renamed to dissociative identity disorder, which is actually more fitting in this case. Or an example that I personally dislike, ADD, aka attention deficit disorder, the HDHD without hyperactivity, is now called inattentive HDHD. And while I personally maintain that ADD makes more sense than inattentive HDHD for the sole reason that most think of physical hyperactivity rather than a hyperactivity of the mind, an inattentive HDHD generally does not express any physical hyperactivity at all, while having a very fast and active mind.
Okay.
Either way. Tape 5, Side A, Mr. Porter. I am unsure whether Mr. Porter can be considered a professional therapist. I don't know what kind of education an American school counselor receives, so...
They do say in the show that he did not receive sufficient training to deal with teenagers who have suicidal thoughts.
But his successor?
Yeah.
Seems to be fine at dealing with it, and wouldn't she technically have the same background as him?
I suppose so, but the successor does seem to be, well, have more training and seems to be better equipped to dealing with the teenagers at this high school.
Yeah. We don't know how it works in the US. And it's hard to judge his actions, or lack thereof, in regards to his conversation with Hannah just before she killed herself.
Yeah, Mr. Porter did try. He could have tried harder, but what was he supposed to do?
Hannah had already made her mind up by that point. She came to him to talk about being raped and about her intention of ending it all, but she didn't really. And it's hard to talk about this. She doesn't think it can be considered rape because she did not say no, but it still is. He raped you, Hannah. He did. As for the suicidal thoughts, she did mention them indirectly.
And why didn't she just tell him that she also never said yes? Because it got a bit emotional and heated, and I could have seen her just yelling him in the face that, yes, I also never said yes, so you can't accuse me of these things, of just changing my mind.
That's not how a victim's mind works, though. It doesn't make a difference in her mind. I can't say I understand how survivors of sexual assault think, but many resources say that they feel ashamed, embarrassed, guilty, that they think not explicitly saying no means they kind of consented. Or even if they did say no, well, it's complicated. Hannah did not give her consent, and, well, Bryce did, but Hannah doesn't fully understand that or isn't willing to admit that for reasons that are beyond me. Yet, well, they are realistic in a way.
Yeah.
Yes, she did not say yes. She did not give her consent. She might not have said no, but what Bryce did was wrong. But for Hannah, she doesn't think of it that way, and that makes it more complicated. Either way, the signs were there. The alarm bells should have been ringing, but if Mr. Porter is not a professional, would he have been able to see the signs in the first place? From his perspective, Hannah seems to have made a mistake, slept with a boy and is now regretting it. That's the way she frames it, no? Still, isn't it his job to look out for such signs? Isn't it his job to make sure help is available to the students when they seek it? Isn't it his job to protect the students? Or is it not? Because if it isn't, if his job is merely for guidance in choosing elective classes and future universities or colleges, was it? Then Mr. Porter does not have the education necessary to be able to pick up on the cues, to see the signs, to know what to look for and to take the correct actions. Also, the changes they made to that conversation from novel to TV show adaptation, they kind of make me mad. First of all, as a counselor, turn your damn phones on silent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that
you are in a counseling session with a student who came to you for help. Turn those damn phones on silent.
Yeah, that also really annoyed me.
Did not happen in the book. There were no phones in the book. And then the way he went about the encounter, as if it was Hannah's decision, something to be embarrassed about, and only then asking whether someone forced her. Of course she would get defensive. That's also something that happened a bit differently in the book, and it's like, it was a small change. Some of it remained the same, but the overall picture it paints changed a lot. And then that was a television narrative choice, like the way they switched between Hannah talking to Mr. Porter and Clay, it's just, ugh. This scene made me so mad, and most of that is due to the changes the showrunners decided to make. It's, ugh.
Yeah. At least Mr. Porter learns from this that not every kid can speak the truth. Some keep the truth to themselves in order to protect themselves. And even if he had known this beforehand, one could argue that he wanted to encourage Hannah to speak about it out loud. Because with acknowledging that it happened, and speaking about the fact that she wants to kill herself, only then can the healing begin, and then it is easier for others to help her. And he said, in a maze, you get lost, and in a labyrinth, you find yourself. And now that I know that there is a difference to these words, that they are not synonyms, that because mazes have dead ends and labyrinths do not, and I can kind of see what he means.
Would you have noticed if I hadn't told you about the difference earlier this week? Which was unrelated to this episode, actually.
Yeah, probably not. I don't think so. No. Maybe I would have noticed or found it weird, like, huh? But then dismissed it immediately and forgotten all about it a minute later.
For those who did not know beforehand, a maze and a labyrinth are technically two different things. Not sure about other languages, but I know that some do not have an equivalent for maze and use labyrinth for both meanings. Greek, I believe, is one of them. So, the original Greek labyrinth has one single path that leads to the center. There are no branches, no dead ends. A maze, on the other hand, is a riddle. The path branches off, there are dead ends, it can get incredibly complex and hard to navigate. See these example images for visual support. Interesting note. The Greek myth about the Minotaur talks about the monster being trapped in a labyrinth. But if it truly was a labyrinth, it would hardly be a proper trap, would it? It was most likely what we would call a maze today, and the language, ancient Greek, did not have two separate words, only labyrinthos. So it's really interesting how language develops, and like the English language is like, yeah, we have two different words, labyrinth and maze. But other languages do not have that.
Then they should introduce that.
Well, no, because for me personally, it's like, why would we even have two words in the first place? And even, it's like, the word where it originates from, the labyrinth it's like, labyrinth comes from Greek. And in Greek, you only have labyrinthos for both meanings, the maze and the labyrinth. So why did English decide to make two separate meanings out of it? I don't know, but it's fascinating.
Yeah, true.
Tape 5, Side B, Surviving Sexual Assault. We are not going to deep dive into, well, we're not going to go as deep into this as we do not have personal experience. Grammar. We will not go too deep into this as we do not have personal experiences and are no professional experts, but we can't not include it. There, that made sense.
Yes.
So, Hannah, as one of the... Well, she's actually not a survivor, is she? She isn't. She didn't survive it.
Yeah, she didn't survive it.
Hannah feels shame. She doesn't think it counts as not what Bryce did to her. But she does think of what Bryce did to Jessica's. But, Hannah, you were right. It does count. And from what I've read, many victims feel like this. Ashamed, embarrassed, thinking it was their fault and that they somehow deserved it, even though it wasn't, and no one deserves to be assaulted. It is never the victim's fault, and trying to portray a in a sympathetic light, perhaps even trying to justify what they did, that is a no-no. A hard no. No.
No.
Don't do that. Something else many fear is not being believed, that finding the courage to speak up and seeking help will yield no results, that no one will believe them and support them.
And as a male victim of sexual assault, it is even harder to admit to what happened to them, and it is even less reported, and I hope that that will change in the future. Only 6 out of 1,000 are prosecuted when it comes to sexual assault. And they also said that like 1 out of 6 men has experienced a sexual assault, which, wow, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Because it can go several ways. Like, of course, the show showed us, like, rich white boy girls. That's the most talked about one. It also showed us Tyler getting sexually assaulted by another boy. But men can also get assaulted by women, and women can get assaulted by women. It's like, the show only showed us male perpetrators because, well, might sound sexist, but I believe men are more often the perpetrators than women, but women can also sexually assault others. And I suppose non-binary folks could technically also.
Yeah.
Like, anyone is capable of that, but...
Anyone, regardless of gender.
Yeah, no one should do this to another human being.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Something, well, Chloe is technically also one of Bryce's victims. She doesn't seem to be affected as much by what Bryce did outside of getting her pregnant, which I find interesting, but we don't get to see her inner thoughts as much as the others, so who knows what's going on. Abortion is such an interestingly controversial topic that often comes as a result of rape.
Yeah, and I don't really want to get into that debate, but it seems you do, so yes, you are taking away a life.
But at which point is a fetus considered a human life?
Yes, I also wondered about that, and I think that's one part of the entire debate. Like, when is it considered a human life? And they tried to find a scientific answer to that, because if you can't find a scientific answer, it's a personal opinion, in my opinion at least. It's like very emotional based, so they're trying to go with a scientific approach. I think about like, when the brain starts to develop or something like that. And anyways, it could also like destroy your life in pregnancy if you are not ready for such a change, like having a child, and then your child might not have a good life. And do you want to do that to an innocent child?
Some people are just not made to be parents.
Yes, and in my opinion, it is your body, so it is your choice. But I want the women to talk about this decision with someone beforehand.
Well, I fully support abortion. Moral question aside, and we all know my moral standards are rather skewed compared to humans, the thought of going through the horror of pregnancy and birth just worst nightmare ever.
Mm-hmm. If you say so.
Yes. Just the thought alone of no. Well, no.
Yes. I get it.
Yeah. It's, of course, there are so many mothers out there who will obviously disagree with me, but just personally, no. Anyway, this show gives us a variety of survivors. Hannah and, well, not Hannah. And, well, Jessica, obviously. Nina, that one feminist girl from season 3 who was a ball of anger. All different personalities and different reactions and ways of dealing with their trauma. And then there's Tyler and Justin and several minor characters. It's one of the few things the show did well. It kind of did well. I have issues with season 1 Jessica, but the following seasons show us her journey as a survivor in more detail than most other survivors we meet, and I found Jessica's speech in season 3 and episode 12. That speech was very powerful. Still, Tyler's journey was much more impactful, I believe. If you are going to make sexual assault a major topic, then you need to focus on a realistic but also positive healing journey and how survivors can find resources and where to find the support they need. Did they accomplish that in 13 Reasons Why? Partially, perhaps.
Yeah. We see like some healing, some moving forward, but could have maybe been done a bit better. They tried. So, yeah, every little decision can change so much. You can think about the what ifs, but it won't change anything. You can only learn from the past and try to do better.
I guess be kind to each other. Reach out for help if you're struggling.
Yes, exactly. Positive messages.
That's not my thing.
At least you tried.
We didn't make it to tape 7 in the end. No 13 chapters. Only 10.
Well, there are not always 13 reasons for something. Sometimes there are only 10. Sometimes there are 15.
Yes. So, oh dear.
I guess we should end this episode. So until our next episode, you can find us on Twitter. Our handle is at @TNToffies, and we are also on Spotify for the YouTube watchers.
And we are on YouTube, obviously, at @TNToffies.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed this episode,
leave us a comment about 13 random thoughts you had while listening to this episode.
And also like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.
We will see you all next week. Bye.